Alright, this is Weapon X Reacts and we're back with another video, and this is going to be a review of Memento, which is a film directed by Christopher Nolan, and to me, this is honestly one of the greatest psychological thriller movies that I have ever seen in my life, as it was just so well acted and directed. And not just that, but this is a film that I totally recommend that you should go check out once in your life, as it is going to be an experience that you will never forget. But I will warn you that this film can get pretty confusing at times, but still, this is an amazing movie that deserves a lot more attention, especially nowadays. And I am just going to let you know that there will be a lot of spoilers in this review. I am going to break down the plot of this film. So, an insurance investigator suffers from amnesia and uses notes and tattoos to hunt for the man who he thinks may have killed his wife, which is the last thing that he remembers. If there was one thing that I really liked about this film, is the way in how it does such a great job at telling a story that is deeply compelling, and while it may look simple at times, this is a very well written and complex movie that will stay with you long after it's over. And to me, one of the most interesting things about this film is the fact that it is so much more than just a psychological thriller, but a powerful study on grief and memory loss as a whole. And not just that, but I thought some of the acting performances were really well done, especially from Guy Pearce as Leonard Shelby. And to me, this is honestly his best performance, as he does such a great job at portraying his character as someone who is deeply flawed, but just so well written all at the same time. And when we first see his character in the opening scene of the film, it immediately starts off with him holding on to a Polaroid photograph of a dead body. But as the scene goes on, it quickly transitions into a shot of him waking up on the inside of his apartment. And this is where you start to realize that this is a man who suffers from short memory loss. And to me, I thought that this was a perfect introduction into who he really is as a person. And not just that, but it perfectly sets up everything for the film that you are about to see. And I am not going to lie to you right now, out of all of the films that I've seen in my life, no movie shows a more complex and realistic depiction of memory loss better than this film right here. And you can really see that from Leonard Shelby's character arc throughout the film. It's just a fucking golf. Okay? One of the most interesting things about him as a character is the way in how he tries to do everything that he can in order to find the person who killed his wife, when in reality, it was all just a coping mechanism for the fact that he is a man who was completely unable to escape from his own reality and emotional emptiness. And while he knows that it won't bring any peace to his life, you can really see that he is trying to become a better person and find the truth within himself throughout the film. And to me, it really adds a lot to the fact that he is a physical manifestation of the lies that we tell ourselves every single fucking day. And not just that, but it is honestly one of the main reasons on why he is such a well-written and deeply complex character. And you can really see that from Guy Pearce's powerful performance in this movie. And I am not going to lie to you right now. He deserves a lot of praise for his performance in this film, as it was just that fucking good. And not just that, but this is a pretty realistic depiction of a man who feels completely trapped by his own reality. And if there was one thing that I really liked about his performance, is the way in how he brought so much depth and complexity into the role. As it really goes to show you that Guy Pearce is honestly one of the best actors working in Hollywood today. And you can really see that from this film right here. And overall, Leonard Shelby is such a well-written character, and Guy Pearce honestly makes this film better than it already is with his performance. And I am not going to lie to you right now, this is definitely up there as being one of the greatest performances in the history of cinema. I thought Joe Pantoliano did a pretty good job playing Teddy Gamble, despite the fact that he wasn't in the film all that much. And to me, one of the most interesting things about him as a character is the way in how he tries to do everything that he can in order to manipulate Leonard Shelby into finding the truth about himself and his own reality. But if there was one thing that I really liked about Joe Pantoliano's performance, is the way in how he brought so much depth into the role, as it really makes Teddy so much more than just a generic side character, but someone who is deeply compelling. And you can really see that from how he's portrayed as being a detective who is nothing more but another puzzle in Leonard Shelby's own game. And it is just honestly one of the main reasons on why this film is so fucking good. And overall, this is honestly one of his best performances, as it really goes to show you that he can do such an amazing job at playing characters who are deeply complex. And you can really see that from this film right here. And it wasn't just him and Guy Pearce that gave great performances, but I thought the supporting cast also did a pretty good job playing their characters, even if they weren't in the film all that much. And I am not going to lie to you right now, this is honestly some of the best acting that you are ever going to get from a film like this. I thought Christopher Nolan's direction of the film was just so well done, as it really goes to show you that he is honestly one of the greatest directors in the history of modern cinema. And you can really see that from the way in how he does such a great job at telling a deeply compelling story about a man who is finally coming to terms with himself and his own reality. And I am just going to let you know that this was the first film that made him successful as a director. And to me, it is honestly one of the main reasons on why he is just the absolute best, especially when it comes to telling stories that are deeply complex, but just so well written all at the same time. And Memento is a perfect fucking example of that. And I am not going to lie to you right now, we need more movies just like this. especially when we are living in an age of where every film that is coming out nowadays is nothing more but generic and soulless slop that nobody fucking asked for. Also, do you want to know what's the biggest problem with Hollywood right now? It's the fact that they are hiring writers who don't give a fuck about entertaining the audience, but more about pushing their own agenda. And you want to know why we go to films in the first place? Is to just be entertained. And if Hollywood can't realize that, then just look at the fact that every film that is coming out nowadays is nothing more but a box office flop. And even though there were some great films that came out this year, it doesn't excuse the fact that Hollywood is fucking dead. And you know what? They fucking did it to themselves. And I am actually going to be honest right now. Christopher Nolan deserves a lot of praise for his direction of this movie right here, as he made an absolute masterpiece that will stick with you long after it's over. And I totally recommend that you should go check out some of his other films like Interstellar, The Dark Knight, and Inception, as they are just absolute masterpieces that we just don't get from modern Hollywood anymore. And you know what? When it comes to his new film, I'm not all that excited for it, because at the beginning I was actually excited, but now I just don't fucking care. But still, Christopher Nolan is a great fucking filmmaker, and this film is a perfect example of that. The cinematography is honestly one of the main reasons why this film is just so fucking good. But if there was one thing that I really liked about it, is the way in how it makes every scene feel gritty but realistic all at the same time, as it's all done to reflect the film's themes of revenge and memory loss. And not just that, but I thought the black and white cinematography was just so well done, as it fits perfectly with everything that this whole film is about. Especially when you realize that it's all done to represent Leonard Shelby's mental state. And overall, this is honestly some of the best cinematography that I have ever seen in a film like this, as it fits perfectly with the film's themes and its story. And I am just going to let you know that this is the same cinematographer who worked with Christopher Nolan on a lot of his films. And to me, this is honestly some of his best work, as it really goes to show you that Wally Pfister is honestly one of the greatest cinematographers working in Hollywood today, and this film shows that perfectly. And if you haven't seen The Prestige, I totally recommend that you should go check that thing out, as it's just a visual masterpiece, and definitely his best work that he has ever done with Christopher Nolan. I thought Carrie-Anne Moss did a pretty great job playing Natalie, despite the fact that she wasn't in the film all that much. But if there was one thing that I really liked about her performance, is the way and how he brought so much depth into the role, as it really made Natalie so much more than just a side character, but someone who was deeply compelling. And you can really see that from how she is portrayed as being a young woman who tries to do everything that she can in order to manipulate Leonard Shelby into getting what she wants. And to me, it really adds a lot to the fact that Memento is honestly one of the greatest movies that has ever been made. And Carrie-Anne Moss did a pretty good job at showing that through her performance in this movie. And overall, this is honestly one of her best performances, as it really goes to show you that she can do such an amazing job at playing characters who are deeply complex. And you can really see that from this film right here. I thought the way and how the whole film is structured in non-chronological order is honestly one of the main reasons on why Memento is just an absolute masterpiece of cinema, as it's all done to reflect the mental state of the main character and everything that this whole movie is about, especially when you realize that the order that this film is set in is all done to reflect his memory loss and how he tries to do everything that he can in order to find the person who killed his wife. And the film reveals that he already did do that, and that he injected his wife with insulin and tried to use Sammy Jankis as a coping mechanism for the fact that he is completely unable to escape from his own guilt. Honestly, man, the writing in this film is just so fucking good, man. And not just that, but it makes me realize that we just don't get movies like this anymore, as it was just so well acted and directed. I thought the Sammy Jankis storyline is definitely up there as being one of the most tragic and depressing storylines that I have ever seen in a film like this, especially when you realize that he is a physical manifestation of Leonard Shelby's guilt and emotional emptiness. And you can really see that in the scene of where it's revealed that he accidentally killed his wife by injecting her with insulin and then ending up in a mental hospital. And if there's one thing that I really liked about the scene, is the way in how it flashes to Leonard Shelby's character, showing that Sammy Jankis is actually Leonard Shelby. Honestly, Christopher Nolan is a great fucking filmmaker, as he is just the absolute master at experimenting with time and creating stories that are so complex but so confusing all at the same time. And this film is no fucking different. And to me, it really adds a lot to the main reason on why this film will be remembered as being an absolute masterpiece that will stay with you long after it's over, as it does such an amazing job at telling a story about a man who is desperately trying to come to terms with himself and his own reality. Honestly, I am not going to lie to you right now. If you want a film with great writing and great directing, go watch this fucking film, as it is most definitely worth your time. And I actually will admit, when I first saw this film, it was confusing because I did not understand why it was in non-chronological order. But when I watched it the second time, I actually liked it a lot more. And it makes me realize that we just don't get movies like this anymore, because movies nowadays just don't take any risks anymore. And I really appreciate Christopher Nolan for making a film this thought-provoking and powerful. And can I just say that Guy Pearce should have easily been nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. But despite that, it really goes to show you that the Oscars just don't fucking matter anymore. And if you really think about it, just look at the films that have won Best Picture or Best Actor that came out nowadays. They will be forgotten, while films like this will be remembered. And it's absolutely insane to me that content creators are now becoming filmmakers and making better films than Hollywood will ever be able to do. Just look at Obsession and The Backrooms, for example, as they are just absolute masterpieces. And when it comes to the fact that this was not a good year for film, it's nice seeing that we are getting new voices in cinema. Just watch these two films. You will understand what I'm fucking saying to you right now. And go watch Obsession, as that shows how horrifying that dating really is. And it's pretty relevant to right now. And I really want to go see Obsession. Really bad. Because I've heard a lot of good things about that film. And I really want to fucking watch it. This is the rating that this film got on Rotten Tomatoes. So 93% from the critics and 94% from the audience. And I am going to read out the reviews right now. So for the first review, very complex detective thriller. Guy Pearce leads a terrific cast alongside Carrie-Anne Moss. If you want to see the beginnings of how Christopher Nolan became such a big director, this is one to watch. For the second one, Christopher Nolan's sophomore feature, Memento, may confuse audiences with its non-linear narrative, but it's every bit as thrilling. For the third one, Memento takes us on a mental trip of recovery, revenge, and remembering. For the fourth one, Christopher Nolan's cinematic breakthrough. For the fifth one, you have to pay close attention to Memento, the most original thriller to come along in years, and one of the best. And I actually agree. This was a deeply original film with an original concept, and it uses that concept to tell a good story. And that is what you see with Leonard Shelby's character and Guy Pearce's performance, because If he wasn't in this film, then this film would have not have worked as strongly as it did, because it proves that Christopher Nolan is a great fucking filmmaker that is worth paying attention to. For the sixth one, this movie treats its audience with respect without being overly pretentious. And that is something that I most definitely agree with, and as I read these reviews, it makes me realize that this film is most definitely worth all the praise that it is getting from critics and audiences, as it really goes to show you that this film is most definitely worth your fucking time. And while it may look confusing at times, it is still a lot better than the woke dog shit that comes out of modern Hollywood, especially nowadays. I thought the soundtrack was just so well done, as it fits perfectly with everything that this whole movie is about, and Leonard Shelby's mental state throughout the film, and I'm gonna show you an example of it right now. Honestly, man, no film has stuck with me more than this film right here, as it does such a great job at showing how a psychopath can lose his memory and remain deeply trapped by his own rejection of his own truth. Like, really, this film is just so well written, and it's crazy that people think that this movie is confusing, because they did this exact same thing with the Backrooms movie, because they thought it was going to be just generic slop when it isn't. It's just a smart film that is worth paying attention to. And that is exactly what this film does such a great job at. It doesn't try to be pretentious. It doesn't try to be more than it is. What it tries to be is just be an entertaining movie with a compelling story. Can you imagine that in modern Hollywood right now? Because guess what? They are not gonna fucking focus on good stories. They're gonna focus on pushing bullshit on your fucking throat. And you know what? Nobody fucking gives a shit, because this is why Hollywood is going to shit. And you know what? Nobody fucking cares. Nobody. Alright, let's go. Oh, that's a driller. So if you're gonna get caught out by me coughing all the time in this video, please realize that it's just a cough, okay? This is also a really good psychological thriller too. This movie proves that Christopher Nolan can do a great job at directing thrillers because he tells thought-provoking stories, and that's what this film does so well. The concept is original, and it's all done in non-chronological order. That is insane, and I really appreciate Christopher Nolan for doing this. What an incredible film. I've seen this film in 2023 and damn, it never left me because this is great writing and great directing and great acting from everyone involved. Because it asks very thought-provoking questions on how can we remember our pasts and how do we cope with it. That's what this film asks. And it does such a great job at showing that. I am going to explain the ending of this film. So, after confronting Teddy in the warehouse, we see a shot of Leonard Shelby getting told that he already got his revenge on his wife's killer, and realizing that Sammy Jankis was nothing more but a coping mechanism for his own guilt and emotional emptiness. But as the scene goes on, it quickly transitions into a shot of him and Teddy deciding to get out of the warehouse, and he tries to make Teddy Gamble his next victim while he is trying to burn the photos. And then after that, the film ends with Leonard Shelby driving into the distance as he realizes that he will never escape from his own lies, while saying the words, "I only believe it when my eyes are closed." And that fits perfectly with who he is. And also the quote, "Do we lie to ourselves in order to be happy?" And that fits perfectly with who he is as a person. And to me, I thought that this was a perfect ending to a film like this, as it fits perfectly with everything that this whole movie is about. How can we forgive ourselves from our own pasts? And not just that, but it is just honestly one of the main reasons on why this film is just an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking. And I am even going to show you the trailers of this film, starting with the first one. And not just that, but this is one of the most underrated films that Christopher Nolan has ever directed, as it was the first film that shows that he can do such a great job at telling stories about characters who are deeply compelling And if you want another example of that, then go watch the Dark Knight trilogy. As it says so much about heroism. And I'm gonna say something. The Dark Knight trilogy is a film trilogy made for men. It's up there with The Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the original trilogy, and everything else. Honestly, Christopher Nolan deserves a lot of praise for what he did with the Dark Knight trilogy, this film, and many of his other films. This is such a simple story, but it's so thought-provoking all at the same time.
Somebody's got to pay, Lenny. Somebody always pays. You have to be very careful. You wander around. Maybe you should start investigating yourself. This guy is so dangerous. He's gonna kill me. Who is he? What do you want from me? I want my life back. I think someone's trying to get me to kill our own guy. You can question everything. You can never know anything for sure. There are things you know for sure. You can't trust him. Even if you get revenge, you're not gonna remember it. You're not even gonna know that it happened. Who did this to you? You did. You don't know who you are.
What a great film. Next one.
I have this condition. A condition? It's my memory. Amnesia. No. It's different from that. What? Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades. If we talk for too long, I'll forget how we started. And next time I see you, I'm not going to remember this conversation. What's the last thing that you do remember? My wife. That's sweet. Dying. Lenny! I guess I've already told you about my condition. Oh, well, only every time I see you. You don't remember where you've been or what you've just done? No, I can't make new memories. It's like waking. It's like you just woke up. When you find this guy, what are you gonna do? Kill him. Maybe I can help you find him. Are you sure you want this? My wife deserves vengeance. Do not trust her. She's gonna use you to protect herself. I think someone's been trying to get me to kill the wrong guy. You can question everything. You can never know anything for sure. Teddy, don't believe his lies. You wander around playing detective. Well, maybe you should start investigating yourself. Who did this to you? You did. I want my life back! Why are you asking me? I can't remember what I've done. I have no short-term memory. Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades.
Everyone in this film is a bad person. This film not only does a good job at showing memory loss, but it also shows the dark side of humanity. And that there are no good guys in this film. That is why this film is so fucking good. There are no heroes. There are only villains. And you can really see that from Leonard Shelby, Teddy Gamble, and Natalie. Three characters that are just so well written. In conclusion, this film was just an absolute masterpiece of cinema, as it does such an amazing job at portraying a man who is trying to do everything that he can in order to forgive himself. And to me, it really goes to show you that we just don't get movies like this anymore. Especially when you realize that we are living in a time of where every film that comes out nowadays is either a remake or a prequel or a sequel of something that has already came out before. And it really goes to show you just how dead that modern Hollywood really is. And if there is anything else that I want to say about this film, is go fucking watch it, as it's just an absolute masterpiece when it comes to the acting, directing, writing, and cinematography. And not just that, but you could really tell that this was made by a filmmaker who actually gave a shit about the film that he wanted to make. And he did it perfectly. And I am just going to let you know that the next films that I'm going to be reviewing is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Brothers. So go get ready for those. And also, anyway, that's all I got for today. Go away now. And always remember, strike back like a weapon against wokeness. And keep supporting movies like this, because we need them now more than ever before. Alright, see you in the next one, I guess.